and welcome back to My Kitchen, My Rules, where I'm realizing that if the sound isn't perfect, it's on me because I totally forgot to charge my microphone. But you know, I'm a working mom, and you know, sometimes you just got to keep on going. And that's why tonight we are going to make one of the easiest little casseroles you should have at any time in your kitchen. Maybe you want it for St. Patrick's Day if you're Irish, or maybe you just have leftover mashed potatoes, which we're working with leftover mashed potatoes tonight. So you know what we're making? Shepherd's pie. Now, shepherd's pie probably has a big old backstory on it, but frankly, I had a long day. I don't really worry about the backstory. All I know is that this is a dinner that the whole family will eat, and frankly, you can sneak some vegetables in there. So here's what you need to get ready for. You're gonna cook some ground beef. I've got 2 pounds, although my recipe generally calls for 1, but 2 was on sale. And when things are BOGO, you BOGO, right? And for those of y'all that don't shop all the time, maybe you live in a big city or something, you're not as cheap as I am. BOGO is buy one, get one. We love BOGO. So that's what we have for our ground beef tonight. And I do admit to buying the overpriced stuff without the GMO and the hormones and stuff in it, because I have teenagers, and let me just tell y'all, I got plenty of hormones in my house. All right, so we're gonna heat up our frying pan over here. And in addition to your hamburger or ombrage, I think we should make shepherd's pie sound fancier. Let's call it ombrage. You need some mirepoix, which is diced onions, diced celery, and diced carrots. Now, you can also just use onions, but again, we're sneaking vegetables upon our families. And if you're watching this in, let's just say, the first quarter of any given year, you're probably still trying to do better with your oh, look, I'm checking my pan. You're trying to do better with your New Year's resolutions. So that's gonna heat up over here. Actually, let me pause it for just a second and get my butter. I need about a tablespoon of butter, and I forgot about it because obviously I am about too tired to think. You know, there are days when you're so tired you kind of think you should just get takeout and be done with it. But let me tell you all a secret. I travel some for my business, and not just my real estate business, but I teach on leadership and I try to help people get amped up. Some people call that motivation, but you got to have something more that sticks with you when you leave the room. So anyway, my family gets tired of eating out. So even if I'm tired, I'm going to leave either a casserole in the freezer, or I'm just going to be ready to cook when I get home. Now, I will say that this shepherd's pie is an excellent freezer candidate because you can cook it all the way until oven time, freeze it, and then you can bring it back out to do the final steps. So just remember that. And there's earlier videos on my channel with some other freezable things. My baked spaghetti freeze as well. The Doritos casserole freeze as well. And I think that's y'all's favorite recipe that I've made. But if you have a different favorite, you could let me know in the comments. So we're currently melting 2 tablespoons of butter. And then we're going to toss in the mirepoix. And then we're going to toss in the ground ombrage. I'm going to keep saying that. And then I have some Leigh Brown Worcestershire sauce. And I did see a really funny conversation on Instagram the other day where people were debating how you say Worcestershire. And it was kind of hilarious. I say it the way my daddy did, so I don't know if it's right or wrong. And I imagine if one of y'all actually lives in jolly old England, you will tell me exactly how I'm wrong, because I do love my subscribers. Y'all are good at telling me what I get wrong on the regular, but that's all right because I'm a grown person who likes to learn. So anyway, let's go ahead and heat the oven up while we get the pan going. And you know what we're going to put it right? 350, the magic number, which I think is why the stove comes already preset there. So we've got 350. We're going to have our mirepoix go in here. Now, if you're wondering why my mirepoix is frozen, it's because I like to buy a bunch of it and we chop it up and then we just leave it in the freezer because these things freeze really well. I will just point out though, when you're freezing onions, you should double bag them because they can stink up your whole freezer. And that's also why if you are a new to cooking person or a new to owning refrigerators and freezer person, did you know you ought to keep a box of baking soda in the freezer and the refrigerator too, because it absorbs odors and keeps it fresh? But you got to change it out every month or 2 months. And that's why I do not buy name brand baking soda, because I use so much of it and it does lots of other things around the house. But I have not started my total transformation to Little House on the Prairie. Currently, I just occasionally do things like that. So anyway, we'll get the mirepoix going. I'm going to give it about 3 minutes so that the onions start to get translucent, and then we're going to toss in the hamburger, and then we'll get it browned up. So now's the time for a commercial break, where we don't really have any commercials about things like mirepoix and ground beef. Now, if you're wondering about these leftover mashed potatoes on the stove, you should know that I have really a great love for y'all that I have shared with you, my magical mashed potato recipe, which will make people think you're a genius in the kitchen. I'm just saying. So whenever you make some, I get the whole giant bag of potatoes that's on sale and fix them all, and then you can make this right after with your leftovers if you have any. Now, normally in my house, we don't have a lot of leftovers of mashed potatoes because we do enjoy eating in this house. Food is my love language. I'm sometimes terrible at remembering to send cards, but I'm very good at feeding people. All right, so now we're going to add our ground beef to our vegetables, which are now going translucent and ready to roll. Now, after we add the meat to the mixture, we're going to take some flour. You know, right? Do I have to say it? Do I really have to say it? Y'all don't know? Yes, you know. You know it's white lily I keep in this container. And we just need about a tablespoon, and we're just going to sprinkle that in and amongst the mirepoix as it's cooking. If you didn't know, flour can act as a thickening agent, and that's really good in a casserole. So we just need about a tablespoon of it-ish. And we'll go ahead and break up the ground beef. And now, of course, is a good time to add your Worcestershire sauce because that is the best flavoring ever for ground beef. And did y'all know that Worcestershire is made up of like fish and anchovies and stuff? And so if you always turn your nose up at anchovies, guess what? We've been sneaking on you for years. Ha, ha, ha. See, kind of like we're sneaking vegetables in here on the children. And however much Worcestershire sauce you use is however much you want to use. It's also, by the way, a secret ingredient in really good Chex Mix, if you did not know that. So see, I'm just going to apparently tell y'all every secret I have this evening because that's how we roll. And also, this is an excellent thing to make while you're trying to listen to your teenagers tell you secrets or while you're supervising homework because it doesn't require a lot of thinking. Which, if you are new to My Kitchen, My Rules, hey, we are not all about thinking over here. Frankly, we're just about good things that taste good and are relatively good for you and your family will enjoy and a good variety. And I'm Southern, so there's always butter. And if you ask me for vegetarian things, I'm going to love you and pray over you, but you're probably not going to see that. All right, so let's get these things warmed up. And while that's happening, I guess I can just kill a little bit of time and grease my pan. Now, I'm using a disposable, I know, don't fuss, casserole dish because this is going in the freezer. And if you want to serve it right away, you could just use your general 9x13 casserole dish. But if you plan to freeze it, and actually, look, why did I cut my oven on? I'm going to freeze this one because that's what I'm going to do tonight. All right. I thought I should cook it and show y'all the finished product, but I guess you just won't have to believe me. Okay, so we'll find you a finished plate of it to look at later. So how am I greasing my pan with a little bit of Crisco? And you see my secret, right? I keep a Ziploc bag in my container just so I have it to keep my hand from getting greasy. Although when you're cooking in the wintertime, your hands are probably about as dry as mine. I probably should put some Crisco on it. Some of those beauty secrets that ladies had back in the day have not gone out of fashion. All right. Although I imagine this is not exactly going to please the vegan population of the world. They probably don't approve of the fact that there's animal lard in the Crisco. Or was. I guess there still is. I'm just not going to look. Speaking of things y'all aren't going to know about me, I did make homemade liver mush, and it's amazing, and it's the best stuff, and I did not make a video for you. So if you think you'd like to know how homemade liver mush is made, then you are welcome to pipe up in the comments, and maybe I will show when I make it next year, because that's a once-a-year big project. And that's generally how I know which ones of my friends are country farm people, because they eat liver mush, and it does not tend to be something that I guess I would just say city people would eat. So anyway, our pan is all greased up and we have our mixture going over here on the stove. And I hope you've had a great day, and I hope you've subscribed and all that and leaving a comment about something interesting going on in your life. And while we're waiting on the meat to brown, let me show you what else you want to be gathering up for ingredients. Go get you some ketchup. You need some Texas Pete. And yes, we use the big bottle in my house. We use a lot of Texas Pete. Hot sauce goes with everything. You need some black pepper. I'm about out and going to restock. You need some thyme. And we're using, which brand do we have today? Oh, the Hearty brand. So I guess that makes it Kroger brand. We've got some salt. And you're going to need a can of corn. It can be cream corn or whole kernel. I have a whole kernel in the pantry. You could also use frozen if you want. See, just make your own life easy. And a bag of green peas. Now, if all you have is the frozen mixed veg, that works too. See, it's so easy when your recipe just kind of rolls with the flow. And then you need some shredded cheese. You know, I normally like to shred it myself, but this is not one of the days when it's going to get shredded by itself. So we use the bag stuff from the Publix. And our meat is just about browned over here. Now, once your meat is brown, we're going to drain the grease off of it because you don't really need this much grease in your life, even if you're keto. And I heard that the keto people like to have some grease and fat, but I would imagine this isn't exactly what was envisioned in a weight loss plan. Now, if you are wondering what I scooted out of the way, that's my lamp Berger. I got that for Christmas for my birthday or something from my real estate team. And in fact, it was Charlie, because I'm pretty sure he has a second life selling those things. And it takes all the stink out of your kitchen. And I'm kind of frankly amazed that I can now cook things like fish and my kitchen does not smell awful. And if you're a person who cooks collard greens, you may already know this little dirty secret. As my dear cousin likes to say, when you cook collards, it kind of smells like a fart in your kitchen. And I hate to talk like that because it's just kind of tacky, but she ain't wrong. And so this lamp Berger, though, I can fix my collards and I don't smell it anymore. So hip, hip, hooray. So now I get my strainer here and let's pull the grease off because we don't need it. And if you're wondering what I'm pouring it into, in case you missed the second or you fast forwarded like we have to do on those awful Instagram and Facebook things where you think they're gonna make a pretty cake and it winds up being a nasty looking disaster and you want your 20 minutes of life back. I hope you don't feel that way watching my videos because they drive me crazy. So anyway, we're dumping the grease into a can in my sink, not down the sink, because I keep a grease can under the sink for making things like biscuits and gravy. And see, if you ever cook with things like bacon, why would you waste bacon grease? Oh, it should practically be against the law. So now, well, that does look good already. It's kind of amazing how beautiful ground beef is when you get it all mixed in with some vegetables, right? So now that we've got it drained off, let's put it back on the stove. Now we need some seasoning, right? So now we're going to add, we hear it popping and bubbling over there. And I'm going to, oh, it's too hot. You hush. So now we're going to get our ketchup and we'll add just a couple of tablespoons of ketchup. Kind of squeeze it in. Give a little bit of hot sauce. The amount that you use depends on how hot you like things. Now my family likes some spice. So I'm going to put in enough Texas Pete to where we can taste it now. It's very important. Then we need some thyme. And the amount that we want of thyme is, I'd say, if you're the measuring sort, about a teaspoon or maybe two. Oh, I can already smell it. Oh, it's so nice. Now, a lot of people put in their traditional shepherd's pie, might use ground lamb. You could use ground turkey. You could use ground chicken. We're ground beef people around here. Turn that heat down a little bit to a medium. Stir in the ketchup and the Texas Pete. And the thyme. Oh, my camera angle back down here where y'all can see what's going on. All right. Whoop. And then we'll add a little bit of minced garlic, regular minced garlic. Get you some minced garlic, toss a little bit of this in here. Because you know, you got to keep the vampires away. I don't even know if y'all can hear me right now over the burbling over here on my stove. Black pepper, we're going to put in, oh, I don't know, maybe a half a teaspoon. whatever you want. About a half a teaspoon of salt. You don't need a heck ton of salt in this one because there's so many other flavors going on. So this a little bit enhances, as y'all know. Let's get our spices and seasoned and mixed in. And because this is my kitchen, my rules, you might season like I do and just gather up in your cupboard whatever sounds good and try it out. I will tell you what's really good. You already know, you're kind of surprised I'm not using it, but adobo is really good in shepherd's pie. So now that we've got that in there, let's let that simmer. Turn that down a little bit. Let's add our peas in. And now it becomes almost like a dump casserole, which if you are a busy parent, you will know that dump casseroles are your friends. Man, my kitchen shears are dull because there's children come in here and use them for things that aren't related to the kitchen. Now, some of y'all are possibly not fans of frozen peas, and so you're thinking, but Leigh, I don't keep those around the house. And I'm going to tell you something, you know, I'm a runner, and frozen peas are the best because if you need to ice something, you can get them to form around whatever is needing some love, whether it's your ankle or your knee, or maybe you've got a husband in your house and he has had the sniffs. Frozen peas are his friend too. So I got this can of corn. I'm going to drain it because we don't need corn juice, and we don't have to be aggressive about it to get most of the moisture out. Dump it in. There go our peas. Now let's just stir that in. And what we want to do here is let the peas thaw out and start to soften up a little bit. So that's how long you want to keep it in the. And oh, it's so pretty though. Let me show y'all how pretty this is. Like the colors are so nice. And actually, you know, that's one of the signs of healthy food is that it has lots of colors in it. I love it. And some of y'all are out there eating like a plate full of things that are white and gold and yellow, and that's generally starch and starch and starch. So make sure you get some green and green and green, a little bit of orange in there. All right, so now that's going to simmer for about, let's see, let me check my list of things here. I got my salt, Worcestershire, Texas peach, pepper, thyme, ketchup, corn, and peas. So now it's going to simmer for about 15 minutes. And so after the 15 minutes of simmering, I will show you what's next. All right, our mixture is ready and the whole kitchen is smelling really good. So let's pull it over here. There's what it looks like. Looks like good filling, right? You could do a lot of stuff with this, I would imagine. But what we're going to do tonight is take our casserole dish. And we're just going to dump it right directly straight in. Dun, 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 dun. Your prepared dish here that's been all greased up and ready to go. All right. So now, the next thing we're going to do, smooth it out a little bit. Oh, look at all that steam. I always feel magical when I see the steam in my kitchen. And actually, that's about perfect. So I could probably actually divide this into 2 dishes. And this is another reason to be an at-home cook. I just looked at this and said, you know what? I've got enough to double this. And so I'm just going to take half of the mix, switch it over into this pan. So I have 2 meat and vegetable layers. There we go. And now, actually, if you've ever wanted to be a Southerner, well, guess what? You could be one too. Dun, dun, dun. Because what do we do when somebody passes? We feed them. What do we do when somebody gets married? We feed them. What do we do when somebody has a baby? We feed them. What do you do when somebody has a divorce? Well, you take them a bottle of wine and you feed them. And so we are going to get those layers, get that extra veggie off the corner there. I might have to get my paper towel and clean it because y'all know I'm a little bit of a cleaning person. Okay, so now we got that laid out. So here's the magic of shepherd's pie. Now I told y'all we had to have some leftover mashed potatoes, and those are here in this container. What? And we're just gonna lay it across the top and make like it's like you're frosting a cake here, frankly. We're just frosting it with mashed potatoes. And yes, my hands are clean. Yes, I've washed them many, many times while I had the thing paused, while I'm cleaning up grease and such. So those of y'all that are clean freaks, please don't panic on the video. I know that you can't see everything that goes on, but let me just reassure your nerves, because I know you still like to come eat supper with me. All right, now, and plus, I worked in restaurants for so many years. You don't know from what you don't know. All I can tell you is that in my kitchen, my rules, this is a very clean place and a very observed place where we don't keep things like 40s in the ice chest, because this one restaurant that I worked at during college, we had a very lovely kitchen kind of helper man. He was really our all-purpose man, and he liked to have a 40 after work, and he would keep it in the ice chest and had to move it whenever the health department came. And so, yeah, that's probably things y'all didn't want to know about, but anybody that's watching this video who's ever worked in a restaurant, you know I ain't lying. So let's just spread that out. Now, if your potatoes have gone cold, as mine have, I could have heated them up to make them spread better, but because I'm already ready to be done with my freeze the 2 shepherd's pie projects, I didn't heat them back up. Now I'm wishing I had, because it's not going to be as pretty as I want, but oh well, such is life in my kitchen, my rules. And if you're, seriously, if you've never made my mashed potatoes, you legit should go pull the recipe, because this is my son's favorite food, and on birthdays, he would rather have these than a cake. So that's how good they are. And they're done. I had to fight the family to leave me some leftovers when I made them. I said, I got to make a shepherd's pie. So they left a few alone for me. All right. So basically your layer is going to be, y'all are probably completely grossed out watching me do this with my bare hands, but you'll live. Now, the layer is going to be, you can see it on this one, just a little top layer. Now mine have a little bit of carrots and peas in it now, because it's not as pretty as it should be. But you're probably going to use, I don't know, 2 to 3 cups of potatoes to do the top of your shepherd's pie. And that would be a couple of russets, basically, maybe 2 or 3 russets from the grocery store. But you're going to buy that big old 5 or 10 pound bag. So go ahead and buy it. And in fact, if you've got BOGO at the grocery store, a really good idea is when you buy the 2 extra bags, find your local food pantry and drop off that extra bag of potatoes, because something tells me that they could use it. And then you don't have to solve the whole world's problems, but you can do a little bit of help from time to time. And that's the way we get things better. All right, so now got our potatoes in here and layered up, and y'all are totally grossed out, but that's all right. But because I got it in there, still got a little bit left for tomorrow night's supper. So now we have our potatoes. We've got our food on the bottom. Let's get our cheese. You can use cheddar. You can use, I'm using Colby Jack just because that's the mixture I like. Just sprinkle a little bit across the top. You don't need a heavy layer unless you're a cheese person, in which case you just go to town and do however much more you want. And then when you're ready to cook it, so I'm going to freeze these. When I get them out of the freezer, let it thaw in your refrigerator for a day if you can, just so that it will come back to not being a complete block of ice. And then it'll cook for probably, if it's frozen, probably take you 45 minutes at 350. And if you're cooking this straight up and without freezing it first, then probably 30 minutes. You basically cook it until the edges are bubbling and the cheese is melted on the top. And then you are going to have the happiest supper ever. Make sure you fix this for St. Patrick's Day or any other Irish holiday or any leftover holiday like a Thanksgiving. Enjoy the heck out of it. Make sure you subscribe for more. Leave me some comments in the thread if you've tried it. Let me know if you make modifications. I love hearing your ideas, and I will see you next time on My Kitchen, My Rules.